I know you probably been like, Pop, where have you been, man? When uh when things are really crucial, I stay in prayer. I'm not patting myself on the back or anything, but I stay in prayer for hours and days. Hours and days. So to get her done and to bring it in. So I've been praying for the fullness of the Gentiles, which is a fullness of the age of grace, because we are right on the verge. We're right on the verge of the tribulation period. I was watching a movie uh, yesterday, and it's incredible. It's incredible that we're still here with all of the ways that mankind has devised to wipe each other out. And the movie is supposed to be based on a true story. And the project was called Scoop. It's where they go out to outer space and they scoop up something that's biologically so toxic, that the enemy wouldn't dare mess with us. And so they based a movie off of it called The Andromeda Strain. It was a fascinating movie. 1971. Some movies are very telling. It's almost like reading the newspapers. Andromeda Strain and Red Dawn. So, I like Red Dawn #2. And I think both are good. Usually sequels stink, like the sequel to Iron Eagle stunk. So, I'm sorry, fam. My hours are backwards. Normally I stay up. I'm not doing a Jeff Tubin off camera or anything like that. I'm just trying to get comfortable. It's hard. It's hard being bedridden because the human body is not is not designed to be in bed 24/7. So, uh, yeah, like I said, Red Dawn is a good movie. Soylent Green is a good movie. Andromeda Strain. I have to see where my oxygen level is. When you yawn, it's your body's way of saying it's not getting enough oxygen. So, my oxygen's at 95%, 80 beats per minute, a little fast. Little fast. Let me see what my EKG is. EKG shows a strong, steady pulse at 88 beats per minute. That's good. I like my little EKG meter because it's comforting to know whether your heart is messing up or not. And I can actually use it as biofeedback. And settle my heart down. I can usually slow my heart by about 10 beats per minute, which is good sometimes. And I did an experiment. I ran an EKG on my heart, and then I watched a very upsetting movie for me, which is the part of Titanic where everybody's drowning. And man, my heart went crazy. The EKG got all sloppy, and it wasn't able to count the beats per minute. It said, you're doing 84. No, you're doing 109. No, it was bouncing all over the place trying to count the beats. And you could feel it. It says in the latter times that men's hearts will fail them for fear of what's coming. So I believe that. So today is June the 6th. June the 6th, I think it was 1941, was Project Overlord. You find out. What date was D-Day? June 6, 1944. That cough, fam, is in older people, it's a cardiac cough. It's where the lungs flood out because the heart's not keeping everything pumped out. So it's part of being in the winter of life. I get up in the morning and I confess God's word over my situation. This is the day the Lord has made. I shall rejoice and be glad in it. I shall not die, but live to declare the glories of God. Works for me. But see, at nighttime, usually 1 o'clock to about 3 in the morning, I'm watching Nate over at Canadian Prepper, who's a fantastic tacticianist. I watch NY Prepper, and I watch Monkey Works. I'm sorry for the yawning and all. I know it's very annoying. My eyes are all watery. Usually they're dry. So it is what it is. The Meals on Wheels lady came and handed me a piece of trout and stewed tomatoes, which would not be my first choice. But hey, when you're hungry, I mean really hungry, everything tastes good. Meals on Wheels has greatly improved. Greatly. And it's very old-fashioned food like black-eyed peas and stewed tomatoes and squash. And oh gosh, really old recipes for stuff. When I was a kid, I used to cut this lady's lawn, and she would give me a jar of tomato preserves and 50 cents for cutting this enormous lawn. She was a really sweet lady. And I would eat the tomato preserves right out the jar. So, oh, she had such a big lawn that I tried to cut it with a push mower, and the push mower overheated and caught fire and burned some of her lawn up, burned the grass. So I had to go back and get my father's prize lawnmower, which was a Jacobson 4-blade 2-cycle lawnmower, top of the line, aluminum deck, all the bells and whistles. Really expensive lawnmower for the time. And the idea was that the 2-cycle, all the fumes were pointed down at the ground. So if there are any chinches or bugs in the grass, it would smoke the bugs and kill the bugs off at the same time. It made a horrible smell. Made a horrible smell of smoke being 2-cycle. I always had money when I was a kid because back in the day it was safe. Well, almost safe. It was safe for a child to go around the neighborhood and find jobs, find work, handyman stuff. I made fantastic money at this guy's house. he was with the government. It turned out, it turned out that he was a pedo, minorly attracted person, and he'd go to Taiwan and Bangkok on government business and get with the young boys. So I started out cutting his grass, and he said I could work inside and make more money. And his house was in the heart of town, and it was a shambles. He had wood floors, and the dog would just come and poop wherever and whenever it wanted to on the wood floors. So I would come in, and he would spray my legs with DEET to keep the fleas off. And then I would go around the house with the spatula and a garbage bag, scraping up the dog poop off the floors. He had a room divider from the Orient that was black silk and jade, worth a fortune, and real silverware, which had to be polished. So I would sit in the kitchen polishing the silverware. No air conditioning and no screens in the windows. We were sitting there just getting eaten alive by bugs. And he was sitting on the sofa in his underwear with a dress shirt that was open, reading a newspaper. And he told me to get him another beer out of the refrigerator. And while I was at it, get one for myself. So I thought to myself, stomping with the big dogs now. Going home with 50 or 60 bucks in my pocket. And drinking beer. 11-year-old kid, man. My mother was no fool. She said, I don't want you going over that man's house anymore. Yeah. So you still had to be careful even back then. The guy at the record store was minor attracted, and he would let the older boys come into the back room and play pinball machines. Pinball, you had to be a certain age to play certain of the risque pinball machines. You had to be a certain age to smoke. He let the older boys come in back and smoke and play pinball. And then one day they dragged him out of the store in handcuffs. So, same stuff was going on back then. People just didn't acknowledge it or talk about it. The school crossing guard when I was in elementary school, he looked kind of like Bob Keeshan, Captain Kangaroo. you couldn't really tell if he was a man or a woman. And yeah, he would take uh, he would take all the little boys to this candy store and buy them candy. When I got home late and didn't want dinner, my mother was like, "What's going on?" I said, "Well, Mr. A bought all us little boys candy." He what? So Mr. A got put on my stay away list. But the point I'm making is D-Day 1944. All of these men were herded into these plywood boats and shuffled out to Omaha Beach, Normandy, France, and then let off at the shore, almost at the shore, where they had to wade through the salt water and they had to struggle through barbed wire and those crisscross steel things, you know. All the time being used for target practice by the other side further up on the beach in their turrets, just mowing these men down like grass, cutting them to pieces. Brave men. Can you imagine that you're trying to get up a beach from downhill and somebody in the safety of a turret with the machine gun is mowing people down all around you, and you can feel that there's somebody who's targeting you, getting ready to pull the trigger. You can just feel it. And then there comes a thunk on your head, and down you go face down into the water to get a nose full of and a mouth full of salt water. Unless somebody, grabs you and drags you out and saves you. But that person's being cut down too. In the art of war, they figure it's better to injure men rather than to kill them off, because an injured man will scream for his buddies to come and help him. So now, instead of just taking one person out of action, you've taken 3 men out of action. And then when the other men come for the wounded guy, you can do what's called double tapping them, which is you wait for help to arrive, then you double tap those other poor souls. I wonder what they're thinking now up in heaven. I'm sure they're aware of the state of our country and the great sacrifice that they made. The great sacrifice that they made on behalf of this country to keep people free, only for the people to turn around and become licentious and hedonistic and narcissistic, be just as hateful and cold-hearted, even to their own flesh and blood, to where they would scrape their own flesh and blood out of their belly like seeds out of a pumpkin. God gave us the miracle of procreation. And yes, what do? We scrape it out, throw it in the trash, or sell it to a cosmetic company. Hey, Olivia. So all of you ladies all you people that are spreading that revitalizing cream on your face, a lot of that stuff has cells from aborted fetuses. And there's no getting around it. Everybody knows it's a baby. Fetus in Latin just means little one. That's all that fetus means. Everybody assumes that fetus means like a clump of cells or something like that. No, fetus means little one. That's all. You know, took prayer out of schools when I was a kid. When I was a kid, there was a honesty and a loyalty, and you pledged allegiance to it, and you respected it, to God and the flag and country. You know, when the one fort was under attack, men would pick the flag up, and the British would see the flag waving. They'd send a cannonball over and vaporize those men. Then another group of men would pick the flag up, stand the flag back up and wave it. No, we're not giving up this fort. The British would send another cannonball over and blow those men to bits. So they knew what they were up against, you know, to hold the fort and not give up. Now we have the young generation just wants to capitulate and hand this country over to a globalist third party that we won't ever be able to vote out of office ever again. You know, because that's a bloodless, easy way of doing things. So all these people coming into the country, many of them are being given uniforms and weapons, told to be good Democrats. But see, the foolish thing is that these people have another agenda on their minds. And that's to make America into part of the Islamic Caliphate. And according to These one worlders, they intend to use the Muslims as a cudgel against the rest of the world. And people are falling for it. But I really wonder what those brave men must think in eternity of giving their lives for this country and the condition that this country is in, with men walking around bare-assed in front of little children at a parade with their junk all hanging out. And you can see the confusion on the face of the children, because it's sold to the public as just a couple of guys who love each other that are holding hands. Not that they're doing the dirty gurdy down low and all that other stuff. That comes later. Like I said, God gave us the privilege and the beauty of procreation. And we just scoop that out like seeds out of a pumpkin, throw it in the trash. How far we have fallen. But all the birds have come home to roost. Anyway, fam, I'm going to take a little nappity nap. That's all I wanted to say would be all the people who sacrifice for this country. And people are just trying to hand this country over. Lock, stock, and barrel to other people. Poppy pops out.